four-game relay in the ACC Softball Championship quarterfinals this Thursday. And an intriguing matchup, the number 5 seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish and 4th seeded Virginia Tech as they take the field for the first time here in the postseason. One game gone already today. Clemson got a one-hitter from Valerie Cagle, a couple home runs from Cami Pereira. They are on to the semis. Later on today, we'll see NC State after their win against North Carolina. Yesterday, take on Florida State, and Louisville and Duke, our final game of the night, scheduled for 7:30 Eastern. We welcome you back. My cousin's Carol Bruggeman. So glad you're here with us on what has been a really fun day already. This is going to be a huge game. We're going to see Abby Sweet, the batting champion of the ACC. Keely Rochard struck out the most batters in the country this year. There's a big implications in this game.
Well, these two teams are not only battling for an ACC championship, but they are honing their resumes for a potential NCAA tournament berth. There's a lot at stake in this game for both teams.
There are two of the 5 teams projected by D1 Softball in the ACC to head to the NCAA tournament. And the Irish went 4-0 against Virginia Tech during their weekend series, April 23rd to the 25th in Blacksburg. These were all pretty close games, 2-1 winners in the first game. Overall, they outscored the Hokies 15-10 as they won 6-5 in game number 2 at Tech Softball Park there in Blacksburg. Game number 3 was where they really tested their mettle just to see how long they could go. 7 innings were not enough to contain the Hokies and the Irish on this day as the ball was leaving the yard. Plenty of scoring. This game went 9 innings at a 4-3 final score in favor of Notre Dame. So all of those first 3 were one-run games, and the finale was the only one where they were separated by more than 1 run. Would you believe it was a 2-run game? 3-1 was the final score in favor of Notre Dame, which comes in absolutely sizzling hot here into the postseason in the ACC Championship. Winners of 14 straight, dating back to their last defeat on April 4th. Notre Dame has had the upper hand in this all-time series and won 9 of the last 10. But Pete Demore, the head coach of the Hokies, now in his 3rd season, says he thinks this is one of the best offensive teams that he's been around in his head coaching tenure. They certainly have the power in the circle with Keely Rochard ready to take on this Notre Dame lineup. So 2 teams that haven't played, that know each other very well from the course of their regular season, Carol. And like you said, a lot on the line here. They probably feel pretty comfortable about making it into the NCAA tournament, but you don't want to leave anything to chance, and you hardly ever do when Keely Rochard is your starting pitcher.
Yeah, we saw all those highlights from the regular season, a dominant performance from Notre Dame with the 4 wins, but this is the postseason, and the most steady performer all season long for Virginia Tech has been their ace, Keely Rochard. Those numbers are accurate, 288 strikeouts, number 1 in the country. You're going to see her stretch the zone vertically, also has a very effective off-speed pitch.
Abby Sweet, the leadoff hitter, is a difficult out to get as she's been atop the ACC hitting charts for more than 2 months now, led the league in on-base percentage and average. And Karina Gaskins, their standout freshman with 10 home runs, the most in their lineup. So a highly anticipated game. The second of 4 today is officially underway from Louisville with ball 1 to Abby Sweet. One of 3 captains for this Notre Dame squad under Deanna Gumpf. And against Rochard, this matchup is even more elevated because of how much of a strikeout pitcher Rochard is. And Sweet only strikes out about once every 19 at-bats, making her the 2nd most difficult hitter to strike out within this league.
And when Abby Sweet decides to swing, you are going to love watching her swing. She fully commits. Does not get cheated. Very good eye in the zone, as you mentioned. Very difficult to strike out. Puts the ball in play. Exactly what you want from a leadoff batter. Good combination of speed and power. Swings very aggressively.
Richard ready to deal, and it's low, 3-1. So her 288 strikeouts, most in the country, 4 ahead of Gabby Plain at Washington, and 6 better than Georgina Korick on Ken Erickson's squad at the University of South Florida. Sweet takes upstairs, and a positive start for Notre Dame as she reaches with a leadoff walk. Brown, Troll, and Ritter across the outfield for Pete DeMora's club. Cameron Fagan over at third, Bennett at short, Maddie Green at second, Jamie Bailey at first, and Mackenzie Lauder, the other half of the battery, with the ACC Pitcher of the Year. Well, there's no let up in the 1-2 spots in this lineup, as Emma Clark, second team All ACC, comes in, another hitter above 400 for the year. She finished 7th at 410.
Oh, this top of the lineup, they just keep coming at you. The top half of the lineup, just a lot of good combination again of speed and power. They make things happen, put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense.
That's foul off the bat, nothing in 2. And you'd be hard-pressed to think that there's a team that's feeling better than they are on that 14-game winning streak. They were swept by Florida State right at the beginning of April. And since then, they have just been on a tear. So it's been more than a month since they've found themselves on the losing side of a game. Upstairs, swing and a miss, strike 3. And there goes Clark. They have played really well at home, and when they're able to put up some offense, things usually go their way.
I think they're one of the hottest teams, not only in the ACC, but across the entire country. What they've been able to put together in the last 6 weeks of the season, very, very impressive. And you always want to be playing your best softball in May.
Strike 1 to Katie Marino, the grad student second baseman. And part of their success, too, we're going to see Alexis Holloway start the game in the circle today. But it's really a toss-up in terms of the success that you'll get. Good either way between her and Peyton Tidd, the other regular starter for Notre Dame. And then Morgan Ryan, who works out of the bullpen, is another upperclassman. Grounded to short, flipped to second, gets one, turned to first, and Marino beats it out. Safe on the fielder's choice, as Sweet is taken off the base paths with Bennett's flip to Green.
Sweet was not in motion at all in this at-bat. Kind of surprising. Both of these teams like to steal a lot of bases. But in this incident, very easy for Virginia Tech to get the lead out. As Green and Bennett connect on that.
A freshman out of Edison, New Jersey, Karina Gaskins, is their long ball leader this year. Just to give you a slice of how powerful she can be in a short span, a doubleheader against Georgia Tech earlier this year. She hit 4 home runs in as many at-bats, including 3 all in one game. Marino is on the move. She's to second. Now she wants third. And that throw to third beats her there. Trull to Fagan, and the inning is over. Stolen base for Marino, but then she's put out just 60 feet from home. A little exposition of the base running prowess from Notre Dame, but it's the defense that backs up Rochard as the Hokies get set to come to the plate for the first time. Notre Dame starter in the circle today, Alexis Holloway, is from Crown Point, Indiana, and she's trying to get her team to the point where they can be crowned by winning on Saturday, but it starts here against Virginia Tech.
Alexa Holloway brings a lot of energy in the circle. You're going to see her stretch the zone vertically, likes to work up and down in the zone, but it's her off-speed pitch that is the difference maker for Holloway. She can throw it on any count to any batter at any time for a strike.
There's plenty of opportunities to steal bases when this team gets aboard. Kelsey Brown at the top, a perfect 29 of 29. She led the league in stolen bases this year and starts it off here against Holloway.
Oh, just a spark plug for the Virginia Tech lineup. Speed, speed, and more speed. Tremendous barrel control. If she puts the ball in the dirt, she has an opportunity to be safe every time.
Well, she started off her career a couple years ago at James Madison. Played in 44 games there. But after a coaching change, she decided that it was time for her to make a move, and has been an excellent addition, playing in her home state all throughout, the native of Haymarket, Virginia. And a 1-1, she waves and misses. She spins into the dirt, and 1-2 from Holloway. Well, as we saw that 4-game series play out earlier this season between Tech and Notre Dame, Holloway was in the circle quite a bit, as you would expect. She won a 7-inning complete game and a 9-inning complete game in that game 3 of the series that went to extras. Marino dives at second, but Brown sneaks it under the grad student's glove, and the speedster is aboard to start things off for Tech.
Exactly the start for Virginia Tech that they needed. Takes this low pitch, keeps her barrel down in the zone, hits it right back up the box, and Tech has their best base stealer aboard.
Cameron Fagan squares to bunt on the first pitch. Brown is off, and she still hasn't been caught this year. A perfect 30 for 30.
I mean, that is such a difference maker for your team. You hit a single, but it's almost like hitting a double, because she has been automatic this season with her stolen bases.
First pitch was a ball. This one is a strike on Fagan, 1-1.
I mean, a low explosive start, absolutely no wasted motion. Everything is in a straight line, slides early. And it's a mentality, and the more you're successful and safe, the more you believe you can get there.
That's stroked out to right, over Clark's head, all the way to the wall. Virginia Tech on the board. Brown is in to score. Fagan going for third. An RBI triple for Cameron Fagan.
Well, just 4 extra base hits all season long, but picks the perfect time for her 5th. The Notre Dame outfield playing in, and the speedy Brown easily scores on Fagan's triple. Virginia Tech wastes no time getting on the board.
They get to it in a hurry and start to put the pressure on against Holloway. There is no question that with Brown at second, she was coming in on a ball that gets to the outfield.
Well, and any base runner with some good speed, as soon as you see you, quote, burn the outfield, it goes over their head. You're thinking 3 bases all the way, as Fagan did there.
One to Milius. She checks her swing and appeal to Robbie Guest, the first base umpire. Says no, 2-1.
And Notre Dame gets a lot of, and you can see she holds her barrel back. It's very close, but it does not cross the front of the plate. Notre Dame gets a lot of talk about their offense, and they are #1 in the league. But Virginia Tech is #3.
And they're coming through, swinging right from the get-go. Milius drives in, Fagan from third, 3 batters in, and it's 2-0 Hokies.
3 batters, 3 hits for Virginia Tech. It doesn't get any better than that. Oh, and on top of that, 2 runs. And that makes the Virginia Tech faithful very, very happy today, as they've been waiting for their opportunity to play their first game here in the ACC Championship.
Carol, they've had to wait quite some time to play. They had an 11-day layoff, and Pete Moore, who is always frank, said he thought it was a hindrance to their season to have that much time between playing at the end of the regular season and playing here in the postseason, so they can't play during finals week. And so it's not ideal, but the best thing that he could do as a head coach is to try and make their practices as competitive as possible. Ialuco, pinch runner at first base there for Milius. So the goal from the coaching staff, now as Kelsey Bennett comes up, was to try and make the practice situations as realistic as possible for the Hokies. They played some scrimmages. They allowed fans to come watch at Tech Softball Park. And it seems like whatever they've done has certainly worked.
Well, the good news is you do get some rest. You know, you get to heal some bumps and bruises.
Bennett takes that hanging pitch and flies it to center. Sweet tracking it all the way. And after 3 hits to start, Bennett is finally retired. Tech up 2-0 here, bottom of the first inning, for 2 teams that are pretty evenly matched, Carol.
I mean, you look at those numbers, look at the stolen bases and the amount of runs they generate, the batting averages. Both of these teams know how to put runs up in a hurry. They are never out of the game. You know, some teams get behind a few runs, as Notre Dame is here early in this game, and they can get defeated. But both of these teams are scrappy and they're gritty and they hit through the lineup. They've done it all season long.
1-0 to Jamie Bailey as the West Virginia native takes upstairs from Scott Depot, West Virginia, between Huntington and Charleston. Named to the ACC second team this year. She's been a lock over at first during her Hokies tenure. Pop up behind the plate, and not a lot of room to work with there for Grimm as it hit the netting and goes down as a foul ball.
A lot of room back there, and she has a hard time. The ball keeps drifting. You know, that foul ball, there was not going to come down. It did hit the netting, but she gives her best effort, try and come up with that play. I mean, Bailey has 40 RBI on the season. That's a hitter they would love to retire.
And they get the grounder to short. The throw from Purcell onto first does not get the out, but a good effort there from Purcell, trying to make it happen herself. As she retires, Milius going from first to second, or rather Luco.
Anytime you can go for the double play by yourself, you want to go for it. She can't quite get her balance underneath her. And Purcell's done such a nice job since moving over to shortstop. Started the season at third base. Played half the season at third base, but since she has moved to shortstop, that has coincided with these long winning streaks. She is tough and feisty and just has a shortstop's mentality, kind of a wall over there at shortstop with some tremendous range.
One strike on Lauder, now 1-1. What's the biggest change involved with moving? It may seem like a short real estate move to move from third to short, but what are the challenges involved with that?
The distance from the plate, you know, at third base, the closer you are to the plate, the quicker the ball's going to get to you, of course. It's more reaction time, where it's shortstop, a lot more range involved.
Deep to center, Sweet retreats and makes the catch. And the inning is over. First 3 batters all get on base. Brown and Fagan score. 2-0 Tech. day, the #1 seed Clemson against 9th-seeded Georgia Tech. And a couple of home runs from Cami Pereira, who had hit 1 in 45 games this year. She hit a solo home run in the 2nd, another in the 6th. That was all the offense that Clemson needed because they had Valerie Cagle pitching.
And she was equally impressive in the circle, tied her career high with 14 strikeouts, just gave up 1 hit in the complete game victory.
So the winner of this game advances to take on Clemson tomorrow, 1 Eastern on the ACC network. Stay with us the rest of the day. 2 more games after the conclusion of this one, as we'll see Florida State and NC State Duke Louisville as the nightcap. Mike Cousins, Carol Bruggeman, the former Division I coach, along with you. Thanks for being here. Karina Gaskins is leading it off. She was left at the plate in the first as Notre Dame had Katie Marino get thrown out at third base to end the inning. Well, Gaskins has hit 10 home runs this year. We talked yesterday about how your legs play into the power of your swing, and she's got a high leg kick.
Very high leg kick, but notice she gets it down in time to take the pitch in that situation. Hitting is all about timing and, of course, pitch selection. And with her timing, you know, she feels like she can get a lot of power into her swing. Some of it's rhythm. But you know, to get the key for Gaskins is to get that leg down. Yeah, there's a lot of principles in hitting. You know, being on time is #1, and you know, getting some good bat speed generated is #2. Good hand-eye coordination, really barreling the ball up. But how you get to that point is really a lot of style that takes over.
And I suppose from the coach's perspective, you don't really care what the lead-up looks like as long as the result is good, right?
Well, coaches, we've all coached what we call batting cage All-Americans, where, you know, they can get it done when they're not on the field, and it may look beautiful and you can film them to teach, but you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, you want someone who can get it done when it counts.
Rochard certainly can. She's faced 4 batters, and Gaskins is her 2nd strikeout victim.
Rochard just has a variety of pitches she can go to. That is an off-speed pitch that is just nasty. It has a big bend in it. So not only was the speed of the pitch significantly slower, but that movement on the pitch makes her so difficult to hit against.
Leah Hanks takes strike 1 at the knees. Rochard, the pitcher of the year in the league this year. And Pete DeMoore said, yeah, of course, she's had a stellar year, but the losses that she took were really not her fault. It's hard-pressed to think of a time this year where a team had a day where they really just teed off against her. Although, for what it's worth, she is 0-2 against the Irish in her career, Carol.
Does not have a losing record against any other ACC team. And she has just run havoc through this league throughout her career. And, you know, a lot of pitchers may have 1 strikeout pitch. You're like, how does she have so many strikeouts? Sometimes it's an up pitch that's a strikeout pitch, or it's an off-speed pitch. Or Shard really has 3 different zones she can go to very effectively, up, down, and the off-speed for the strikeout pitch.
And in those 4 games against Notre Dame, she pitched as the starter in a couple of them. They lost 2-1. She gave up 2 unearned runs, took the loss. And in game 3, that 9-inning marathon, she allowed 4 runs, 2 of those unearned, and Tech lost 4-3. So some hard luck L's against Notre Dame. And her 1-2 is grounded over to first, bobbled, and then Bailey recovers for the 2nd out. So you mentioned her zones, and the ball travels not only horizontally but vertically when it leaves her hand.
I mean, the vertical separation between her up pitches and her down pitches, right where she, you know, the hitter's looking at the release point. Hitter thinks it's coming down the middle. Look where the ball ends up, almost at eye level. And in this situation, the hitter even keeps her barrel where she thinks the ball's going to be. It jumps above that. So the amount of movement Rochard gets on her pitches equals a lot of swings and misses.
And we were trying to qualify when the ball leaves her hand. Let's say if it's kneecap high and it ends up maybe around shoulder height for a hitter who's 5'7", 5'8", that might be a 3-foot climb from the time that it leaves her fingertips to the time that it lands in the catcher's glove.
Oh, yes. And so you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to lay off that high pitch. I'm going to look down in the zone, not going to swing at that up pitch. Well, you know, she also brings that down pitch that tumbles down through the zone with a significant drop as well.
Sarah Gens, one of the captains on this squad, down the line to left. Brown across the chalk and into foul territory to help Rochard to a 1-2-3 second.
Watch me do what I do. I'm in charge, I make rules. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to prove. Yeah, I'm in charge, I run this move. Ready, set, strike.
We're all on a journey this week, and it's to the end of conference championship play. The ACC culminates with a noon Eastern title game on ESPN, followed by the American, the Big 12, and the SEC at Rhodes House in Tuscaloosa. And that'll be also where the selection show comes your way Sunday night, 9 Eastern, to announce the field for the NCAA tournament. Along with Carol Bruggeman, I'm Mike Cousins. We go to the bottom of the second. Our 5 versus 4 seeds, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. And the Hokies have the bottom third of their order here against Alexis Holloway. It'll be Addie Green, the freshman second baseman, to lead off, and Emma Ritter and Darby Troll.
Well, when you're playing against a team like Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, you get 2 on the board early. You're feeling good about that, but you cannot relax. Notre Dame has the #1 hitting team in the league, and they can put runs up in a hurry. So if you're Virginia Tech, you're thinking, let's get something done here every inning. Let's build on this lead. Let's put a little more distance on the scoreboard.
This is a very young roster, too, offensively for Virginia Tech. Of the 9 batters who will come to the plate, all but 2 of them are underclassmen. And the freshman Green starts off this second inning with a walk. Holloway, the aerospace engineering major, floats that pitch past Ritter for strike 1. You'll find a lot of academic all-stars on this team for Notre Dame. And her hope one day for Holloway is to design some type of aircraft, whether it's planes or helicopters, or perhaps crafts looking for other dimensions, spacecraft as well. A throw to second on the stolen base try by Green, and it's late. The freshman has her 4th stolen base in 5 attempts.
Virginia Tech with a very aggressive mindset today. A little bit of a bunt and run, but Ritter does not get the bunt down. Green is still able to advance.
Holloway 1-2 on Ritter, and she looks for her first strikeout and gets it. Ritter chases outside, and there's 1 away in the Hokies' second.
And that is the pitch that Holloway may need to use a little more today to really slow down Virginia Tech. just turns the ball over. It floats through the zone. It has been her bread and butter pitch throughout her entire career. She can throw it on any count, and she throws it for a strike, and that's what I love about that pitch. And a lot of people talk about a waste pitch, and you know, I'd like to call it a chase pitch, not a waste pitch. You know, you want it to have a purpose, and that was a good example right there. You got a hitter, you got him at 2 strikes, just go ahead and float the ball right in there, see what they can do with it.
That sits outside to Troll. The junior from Fort Mill, South Carolina, a top-notch defender. And has developed a little bit of more power as her career has gone along. The daughter of a coach, her dad Ron, helped coach her travel team. And she lifts Holloway's pitch to the gap in left center, elusive for Sweet. Green, after her stolen base, comes around to score. And the Hokies strike again. Darby Troll, the number 9 hitter, with an RBI double. Tech up 3-0.
All those leadoff walks always come back to get you. And here Holloway knows it. The minute she releases the ball, it's over too much of the plate. And the 9-batter Troll makes her pay, driving the ball to the fence, easily scoring Green. And Virginia Tech has started off this game offensively on fire through the lineup. Already 3 runs.
Well, Holloway's time in the circle is done for now, as she turns it over to Peyton Tidd to try and stem Virginia Tech.
It should just be a straight change in the 8 spot, but I'm looking here. Sometimes they switch catchers too, so I'm just making sure.
Yeah, because Grimm has not gotten a ton of starts this year at catcher.
Yeah, so I'm just taking a look how they're doing the. This is when it's a little easier to be on site and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I have a big one.
A short outing to start for Alexis Holloway. Just an inning and a third. She allowed 3 runs, still responsible for Troll at second. Here comes Peyton Tidd to try and slow things down.
Well, Peyton Tidd is calm and steady in the circle, exactly what Notre Dame needs in this situation. A power pitcher is going to work all 4 parts of the zone.
And she gets 1 pitch, 1 out to retire Kelsey Brown, trying to bunt her way aboard. That's got Shelby Grimm fired up behind the dish. So Holloway looks frustrated. This is a good offensive team. 4 hits, 5 of the 9 hitters that she faced reached base. And the real big trouble was the leadoff runners getting aboard. First 2 scored in the first, and leadoff walk to Addie Green has already come back to bite. She came in on Darby Troll's RBI double. Cameron Fagan, the freshman from Florida at the plate here, is always a welcome sight after she missed several weeks earlier this season with a lower body injury and was out for 15 games. Made her return against Notre Dame and went 7 for 16 in that series, despite the Hokies dropping 4 to the Irish.
Made the list of the top 30 NFCA Division I National Freshman of the Year. Made the top 30 list despite missing all of those games. He's played shortstop, third base for Virginia Tech, but she really is that true triple threat in their lineup. Can bunt, slap, and hit for power.
Hanks has a read on it, makes the grab, And the inning is over. So Tidd gets the job done. 2 batters, 2 outs. Tech adds another. Hokies up by 3. Keely Rochard, who is winless in her career against Notre Dame. She's got a 3-run cushion to work with here. Now she struck out 2 in the first 2 frames.
And what makes her so effective is her ability to start the ball low in the zone, palm open to third base as you'd want on a rise ball, and what a lively wrist. That ball just jumps up over the head of the batter. I mean, these are not ACC ranks, these are Division I national ranks, #1 in strikeouts and shutouts.
Chelsea Purcell hitting leadoff. And hits a long one, foul down the line, strike 1. Tell me more about, Carol, what you mentioned about her wrist and why that's so important for her pitches.
It's just such a lively wrist. I mean, the more your wrist has flexibility in it, you can open it up, get on top of it for a drop ball, but especially a rise ball, you want that palm facing third base if you're a right-handed pitcher. There was a drop ball there. You could see her get over the ball, but just the ability to really open up her wrist, snap the ball up through the zone with a tight spin. And she's so strong as well. Strong finger grip, strong legs. That gives her a lot of velocity on the ball as well.
Purcell, one of 2 grad students on the roster this year. She and Katie Marino, the first 2 in the history of the Notre Dame softball program. Chelsea graduated last year. Degree in film, television, and theater, a minor in business economics. The 1-2 fouled off again. And she'll be getting a master's degree in management in the business school as well, with that extra year provided for players due to the season being cut short last year because of COVID-19, allowing Notre Dame to have their first 2 graduate students on the roster. Rochard with a tapper, back to the circle, and a bullet on to first. There goes Purcell.
And that was a drop ball there. Great reactions from Rochard. You know, she's just calm and steady and consistent. You know, doesn't get real high, real low in the circle. As Coach Pete Demore says, she just wants the ball every day. Let me go out, do what I love to do. Loves to pitch, loves to work on her craft. And that's not a hard decision for Coach Pete Demore to give Keely Rochard the ball when, you know, and she's so strong, has good stamina. You might think, gee, she's thrown a lot of innings for a team. Well, she has, but I think Keely Rochard is one of the most dangerous people to meet in the postseason, because when you have a 1 game a day in advance, and you have a fresh Keely Rochard, no double headers, it's tough to beat in that situation.
So Peyton Tidd hitting in the 8th spot here. That's where Holloway was lined up as they made that pitching change last half inning. Holloway did not come to the plate. And that's what we talked about with the teams playing yesterday. NC State still alive from the teams that played in the first round here of the ACC championship. Relatively speaking, as that's lined out to left, 2 away. It's easier than a regular ACC weekend in that you don't have to play 4 games in 3 days, but for the teams entering the action today, as these 2 are, Florida State, Duke, and Louisville as well, would only have to win 3 in 3 days to be the ACC champion.
And that really mimics an NCAA regional. If you stay in the winner's bracket, you win 1 game a day, and off you go to super regionals. So this is good preparation for that type of opportunity. Both of these teams in that conversation. You know, the winner of this championship gets the automatic bid, but these 2 teams are in the conversation also for an at-large.
One and one on Cassidy Grimm. Yeah, the last projections seem to have pretty favorable views from D1 softball for the postseason for Clemson, for Florida State, for Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Duke. All those top 5 teams in the ACC will appear to be postseason bound when the field is released on Sunday. And the question will be then, how many of those teams will be host sites? And we'll find that out Sunday night as well. Virginia Tech has been a postseason team many times. 9 times they've been to the NCAA tournament, 9 times, but they have never hosted a regional.
And as you mentioned, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Florida State, all one of those 20 potential host sites. When the selection show hits on Sunday, we will find out exactly where those final 16 sites are.
Rochard looking for a 3rd strikeout, just missed by millimeters there off the plate.
Rochard just lives around the edges of the plate. She wanted that strike, but it was just a little high, slightly off the plate, but an excellent location for a 1-2 pitch.
Now she comes right back, next pitch, and takes care of business. And the inning is over. 3rd strikeout for Rochard, and back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings for the Conference Pitcher of the Year. 2 of the top 3 seeds in this tournament are emergent programs. Clemson and Duke, the 2 youngest programs in the ACC. Marissa Young not only played for a legend at Michigan, but coached under a legend at North Carolina, and now has taken over this Duke program, guided them to a number 3 seed, coming here to the ACC Championship, as she watches and waits as her team will take the field last tonight against Louisville.
And sitting next to her is the hitting coach, assistant coach Josh Bloomer. No stranger to Louisville, lived in Louisville for many, many years. High school coach at Louisville Male High School. Not only won a state championship in his last year in Louisville, won a national high school championship. Now the hitting coach at Duke.
And so many different ways you can go as you hire a staff. When you were a head coach, what did you look for in your assistants?
Well, it's somebody who knew a lot more than me, Mike, that's for sure.
That's hard to find.
No, you want people who complement, what you feel your strengths are. Marissa Young's a great example of that. She does the pitching, catching, battery work at Duke. Wanted someone to take over the offense. I don't know anybody who eats, lives, sleeps, and breathes hitting more than Josh Bloomer, and so just a good compliment there. Same thing when you're hiring different staff members. Good character, good people first.
They've got prime seats. They're on camera every pitch. Milius knocked in Fagan, part of that 2-run Virginia Tech first. And Tidd with a 2-2. That's wasted back to the screen. Tidd came on in relief of Holloway. Went 1 1/3. Tidd, a 3rd-team All-ACC pitcher this year. 2.18 ERA, good for 9th in the league. That's down the line at 3rd and past Grimm. Quickly zipped back in by Hanks. Milius with a long at bat, and she's 2 for 2.
And this is the 3rd inning in a row where Virginia Tech has had the leadoff batter on. Grimm doesn't get her glove low enough there. Glove's up too high, and that ball sneaks right past her at 3rd base.
And it looks like this is going to go to review. So that'll be coming from Notre Dame to see if that was a fair ball down the line. Did it curve inside the bag, or did it veer into foul territory before it passed the bag down the line? Experimental video review being used by the ACC, the SEC, and the Sun Belt. It goes to a replay official up in the press box to take a look at it and communicate with the crew chief.
So the first thing you have to see is, does it touch the third baseman's glove? If it does indeed touch Grimm's glove, that is a fair ball. If it does not touch her glove, it's got to stay over the base and inside the line. And you're looking for a deflection there. You're looking to see, did the ball deflect? Did it turn? Did it move at all? Did it hit her glove? The ball was ruled fair. And the ruling on the call on the field is that it did indeed hit her glove. You can see that ball is foul if it did not hit her glove. So Coach Deanna Gumpf getting a chance to use each coach has 2 plays they can challenge through the game, and starting in the 6th inning, the umpires can challenge at their own discretion any call at any time.
And you get 2 reviews as a head coach. Whether your review is successful or not, you have 2, and that's it. And so with the call on the field being a fair ball, the replay official would need to see indisputable video evidence as it's laid out in the rule book to change that call. And it's a foul ball. So we've seen 3 challenges so far in our 2 games today. Head coaches are 2 for 3.
Well, the call on the field was that it did touch her glove, and you slow things down and get a good look at it. You see it actually did not. The ball was on the foul side of third base. It just goes down as a strike, and Milius grabs the bat.
Potential to change the trajectory of this inning for Notre Dame if Tidd can come back and get the out. And she locates that about where Rochard did last half inning, hoping for a strike. Doesn't get it against a right-handed batter. And it runs full 3-2. Another try over to the left side. Purcell extends to try and grab it. And after all that, Milius does have her leadoff single after all.
The shortstop, number 8, Kelsey Bennett.
Now the cleanup hitter, Kelsey Bennett. 5th all-time Virginia Tech batting average leaders, and Jamie Bailey waiting on deck, just a couple spots ahead of her in those rankings. To give you an idea of, as Coach DeMoore said, one of the best offensive teams he's ever been around, how good they are.
I mean, this is the 1-4-5 hitters in the current lineup today. These are career batting average leaders in a very storied and successful program at Virginia Tech. Shows you their offensive savvy.
Well, Bennett has been the ACC Freshman of the Year before, only the 2nd ever for the Hokies. She's got 11 home runs this year. Hit a school record 3 in 1 game this year against NC State. That's out shallow left to short. And a quick throw back to first by Purcell, just to keep an eye on Milius. Bennett is out number 1 for Tech in the last of the 3rd. Jamie Bailey reached on a fielder's choice. Tidd gets a hard swinging strike to start. And when you watch Tidd in the circle, she is always so composed, always thinking about the next pitch.
And had a lot of velocity on that pitch. Threw it right by. It was in the glove before Bailey could finish her swing.
Off the end of the bat to short. Purcell, quick throw. Bailey is out at first. Milius up to second. So a lot of action going Chelsea Purcell's way here in the third. 2 away to bring up Mackenzie Lauder.
She is the fireball of this team for Notre Dame. Here, Coach Deanna Gump says she's the one who has that bulldog mentality, kind of wills things to happen for her team, fights. Just a good all-around athlete and leader for the Fighting Irish.
Trying to help bring them their first conference title since 2009, back in their Big East days when they defeated DePaul for the Big East Championship. And they have been to the ACC Championship game before in their 6 tournaments since joining the league back in 2014. And that was a championship game appearance in 2016 when they fell to Florida State 7-3 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Although, as history will tell us, Notre Dame took part in a conference championship here in Louisville as well back in 2011, as Louisville has had its run of conferences from the Metro to the American to the Big East to the ACC. And that year in the Big East tournament, Syracuse won its second of back-to-back championships under Lee Ross.
Deanna Gump has had Notre Dame just consistently one of the best programs in the country over 20 years. She's been the head coach there.
That's out to left for Hanks, who settles underneath, and the inning is over. The leadoff single that wasn't, then was, leaves Milius at first. Spotlight brought to you by New York Life. We focus in on Abby Sweet, who's certainly left her mark with the Fighting Irish, making the more than 2,000-mile journey from home in California to South Bend, Indiana. ACC all-freshman team in her first year, second team all-conference a couple years ago, and leading the league in batting average coming into the postseason. All ACC first team this year, and they'll hope she can get the offense going for them here. One full time through the lineup. 3 strikeouts for Rochard and no hits yet for Notre Dame.
Well, had Valerie Cagle not had the year she has had in this league, earned Player of the Year and Freshman of the Year accolades, Abby Sweet was absolutely in the conversation as well in terms of Player of the Year with what she's been able to do is the leadoff hitter for Notre Dame.
The numbers just wow you, and they continue to do that throughout the course of the season. She's led the league in batting average 8 straight weeks dating back to the middle of March. ACC Player of the Week 3 times this year, and hopes one day to work in the music industry. Big Maren Morris fan. That's one of her walk-up songs, Flavor by Maren Morris. The other one is a Travis Tritt jam, It's a Great Day to Be Alive. Which, my only question off of that is, I wonder if she's a Taryn Papa fan. The niece of North Carolina head coach Donna Papa, a burgeoning country music star down in Nashville. Rochard with a 2-1 downstairs to Sweet, who says as she was growing up, not only did she play softball, but that she did tap and jazz dance for about 10 years. She likes to wakeboard and snowboard, and says that's probably helped some with her flexibility as well as a softball player. Looking for Notre Dame's first hit of the day. She walked back in the first. Hitters count. And a chopper to third. Fagan. A big stretch by Bailey, but she got pulled off the bag. Sweet is safely aboard.
You just get the feeling Notre Dame needs a little spark. They need something to get going offensively, and Abby Sweet is usually the one to get that done as Fagan backs up a little bit on this ball. That takes her throw way off the bag. What a stretch by Jamie Bailey over there, completely going into the full splits. You don't see that very often. You're talking about flexibility.
And it goes down as a throwing error on Fagan over at third.
The previous play is under further review.
So our second review of the game, this one initiated by Pete Demore, the Virginia Tech head coach, to challenge the call of safe over at first base. So each coach has used one of their challenges. Deanna Gump was successful earlier in challenging a foul ball down the third base line. And this one, they'll need indisputable video evidence to see if the foot was on the bag at first base with the ball in the glove.
You're looking for some separation there between the toe of Bailey and the bag.
Well, the only thing Virginia Tech is having at the moment is separation anxiety over whether she kept her foot on the bag.
And there you get a great look
right there.
Yeah, and you can see her foot does come off the bag. I feel like this play will stand.
So assuming that Sweet will maintain her position at first base, a 3-0 game. She's got great speed, another great hitter behind her. This will be a challenge for Rochard and a welcome opportunity for Notre Dame to try and get on the board here in this inning.
And so it's a timing play there. Was the ball in her glove when her foot was on the bag? Clearly it's off the bag at that angle. It's a timing of when she caught the ball. Could she keep her toe on the bag or not? So here comes the ball. It's a nice backhanded short hop. It's in her glove. Her foot pulls away.
The thought on this is that you have to have indisputable video evidence, which should be very clear, and otherwise the call on the field should remain. And so it comes from the replay official down to the home plate umpire, David Reinecker. And the call remains safe at first for Abby Sweet, who is a stolen base threat for the Irish, looking to score their first run of the day down 3-0 in the top of the fourth inning. An elimination game with the winner going on to face Clemson tomorrow at 1 Eastern.
Yeah, and more importantly for Notre Dame, they have their leadoff base runner on. They're at the top part of their lineup, just trying to spark their offense today, which Keely Rochard has handled in order the first time through the lineup.
Clark smacks it over to third. Fagan was in on it and waiting for it. One down.
I mean, Emma Clark is a short game specialist. Look how tight the infield is, and Fagan anticipating the short game is halfway up the line, and Emma Clark can't get the ball in the dirt.
Stolen base for Sweet as she goes down to second uncontested. And strike one against Marino, who was a little bit torn as to whether she'd be back on the Notre Dame roster this year, playing her final season of college softball. She planned on going into the workforce, but mom always knows best. And her mom told her that, you know, if you don't come back, you might regret it. And so when she came back to campus, the New Jersey native back to pack her stuff up at the end of last year after the season was canceled. She was hit with the feeling that, you know what, I got one more year, want to be here, as she works her way to being a physician's assistant, and has been spent a lot of hours working toward that in a nursing home to get hours toward grad school here in this final season. So she's perhaps one of the busiest softball players in the country, doing double duty in her final season. She takes the 1-2, hits it out toward right. That carries off the wall. Sweet coming around third. She's in to score. Notre Dame is on the board. Katie Marino is at second base with a one-out RBI double.
The top half of Notre Dame's lineup has been so good all season long. Marino stays elevated with this pitch, takes it the opposite way off the fence, showing you her strength to the opposite field. It comes very timely as Notre Dame gets on the board. Exactly what they needed to answer the offensive prowess of Virginia Tech so far today.
Her first hit of the day comes in clutch fashion from Marino. Gaskins struck out in the second, went down looking at a very slow pitch that hovered on the inside half of the plate from Rochard. 1-0 with Marino at second. That ball got a little bit away there from Rochard in the circle, but with Marino at second, Rochard closed the gap quickly. It made sure there was no advance.
Well, that's the second time a throw from Lauder just back to the pitcher has gone at the feet of Keely Rochard. It got past Rochard the first time. To keep an eye on that throughout the game.
Three 3-0 to the Irish home run leader with 10 this year. Deanna Gump said, you know, I've been watching her since I was 12. She's always had that power. It's about patience for her, and the routine is not always so routine.
No, not, you know, and that's something to keep an eye on. The first time it got past Rochard, that time it stayed in as the inning extends, as Gaskin draws the walk. But that ball is a live ball, so as Lauder's throwing the ball back to Rochard, if it gets away, the runners can advance.
Notre Dame goes pinch runner. Shelby Grimm at first to spell Gaskins first and second. They've got good speed on the base pass. The tying runs aboard in an elimination game here in the ACC Championship. Our second of 4 today. Leah Hanks steps in. First pitch to the future dentist came up and in. She took a safety cut at that one for strike one.
Well, she wouldn't have swung at that pitch. You know, she may be standing at first base. This one gets away from Rochard, and it's very close to being in the batter's box. So if she didn't swing at that pitch, it, you know, might have ended up taking one for the team there.
This has not been the cleanest inning for Virginia Tech, and that's what cost them with Rochard in the circle in that 4-game series against Notre Dame as they got swept in Blacksburg. An error started the inning that allowed Sweet to get on base and eventually to score. Marino at second, and Grimm at first as the pinch runner for Gaskins after a walk. 0-2, bouncer to third. Fagan has been positioned perfectly. These teams know each other inside and out. Playing for the 5th time this year. Runners advance to second and third with Marino and Grimm with Sarah Gens on the way.
With the speed of Sweet, nobody at the bag at third base. Fagan's only play is to first base. And you mentioned the defense earlier that has struggled a little bit off and on for Virginia Tech. When you have a pitcher in the circle who averages over 11 strikeouts a game and you only have to handle the ball 10 times as a defense, sometimes you can be on your heels. You know, it's a good news, bad news thing. You know, the good news is you have a pitcher who averages double-digit strikeouts. There's not a coach or a team in the country that wouldn't take that. But at the same time, it's very challenging for your infield to stay focused, anticipate the ball, be ready to make the play.
First pitch strike to Sarah Gens. And that floats upstairs, 1-1. So for Rochard to this point, 3 strikeouts. Has there been something that either Notre Dame or she has done where, you know, quite frankly, you expect that number sometimes to be higher at this point in the game?
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact this is the 5th time these teams have played each other. There are no secrets anymore. Notre Dame has seen Rochard many innings. They know what she's trying to do. And there we see Lauder throw another ball in the dirt, really struggling with getting the ball back to Rochard in the circle. And with a runner at third base, if this ball gets past Rochard, now it's not just an inconvenience, it's a run for Notre Dame.
When they say she fields her position well, usually it doesn't mean against her own teammate.
Good offering from Rochard, tucks it right on the inside part of the plate. So effective at using all parts of the zone. Really works the edges of the plate.
Gens with 2 aboard, and the 2-2 is inside, 3-2. Two walks, 1 in this inning. And a ball here loads the bases. Rochard with a payoff to Gens. Inside, ball 4. So it's Marino at third, Grimm at second, Gens at first. Another veteran, it's Chelsea Purcell, bases loaded, Notre Dame right back in it.
Well, you don't get to be the #1 hitting team in the ACC without not being able to battle back. Notre Dame down early in this game, finds themselves with an opportunity to extend this inning, possibly tie the game.
Purcell goes after the first pitch. Brown drifts to it and hauls it in. The inning is over. Notre Dame breaks up the no-hit bid, gets on the board, but an opportunity goes by the wayside with the bases left full. On top of Notre Dame, they got going early against Alexis Holloway. Cameron Fagan scored Kelsey Brown with an RBI triple, and then Alexa Milius followed with a squeaker through the right side to bring Fagan home from third, 2-0 after 1. In the second, Green got aboard with a leadoff walk, and Darby Trull came through, stroking an RBI double to the outfield to make it 3-0 Virginia Tech, trying to beat Notre Dame for the first time this year. And in the top half of this inning, Katie Marino with an RBI double all the way over Ritter's head in right field, scored Abby Sweet, who had reached on a throwing error to start the inning. Notre Dame had more opportunity. They loaded the bases against Keely Rochard, an uncharacteristic couple of walks. So here we are, bottom of the 4th, and Katie Marino goes to the backhand. Now that ball gets away from Gens over at first base. So Green is aboard on a valiant effort by Marino at second base.
Good backhanded play. Marino gets rid of it quickly, but equally impressive. Look at Shelby Grimm, the catcher for Notre Dame, hustled over all the way to the first base dugout for the backup, which allowed Green to stay at first base.
So Green gets the single to lead it off. And 4 times in as many frames, now twice against Peyton Tidd, the Hokies have put the leadoff batter on.
Well, that puts so much pressure on the defense when inning after inning after inning, you contend with nobody out and a runner on already. And it gives the offense so many different things they can do. Hit and run, steal bases, bunt the ball.
Or hit it hard over Clark's head into the outfield. Green takes a turnaround second. She's being waved around third. Marino's throw to the plate, not there in time. Green scores standing up. It's an RBI triple for Emma Ritter. And the bottom of the lineup continues to come through for Virginia Tech.
When you get to postseason play, when the bottom of your order can produce and drive in runs, makes a huge difference how long your postseason run continues. And Emma Ritter barrels this one up, driving the ball the opposite way. No stop sign at third base for Addie Green. And Virginia Tech gets that run back that they just gave up the inning before.
Well, they're playing with the swagger that's carried by Pete Demore, their third-year head coach. When he was asked his biggest concern with Notre Dame, he said, I'm not really worried about who we're playing. I believe in us enough that we're prepared to take on anybody. It's just about, can we be where we need to be defensively? And even despite an error today, Rochard has helped limit Notre Dame to just 1.
Well, and earlier in the season, we talked to Coach Demore. You know, he just came out and said it. Look, if we can get 2 or 3 runs, that's all we need. We don't have to score 10 when you have a Keely Rochard in the circle who's on her game, and he's absolutely right. But their offense can put up runs in a hurry, and typically they do get more than 2 or 3.
Troll nearly knocked in another with Ritter waiting at third. 1-2. And nobody out. And Demore was part of a big coaching class that joined the ACC, one of 5 coaches who took over their respective squads back in 2019. And he has far and away been the most successful of those coaches. His first year was the ACC Coach of the Year. Roller to the right side, Marino with a peek at home. No advance from third by Ritter. And she makes the play to first to get the out. You go back to last year, they were 21-4 in first place in the ACC when the season ended. And they arrive here in the postseason as the number 4 seed. The other coaches that came in with him, Jennifer Patrick Swift at NC State, Holly April at Louisville, Shannon Depking at Syracuse, and Jody Hermanic at Pitt. A tapper down the line, the throw to the plate gets away. Ball is still loose. As Brown is safe at first, Ritter safely scores. And Virginia Tech now has a 5-1 lead. There may have been some contact there with Grimm, the catcher, that leaves her in a bit of a dazed state.
Well, the short game, Virginia Tech goes to the short game, and Notre Dame anticipates, and Cassidy Grimm throws the ball instead of flips the ball to Shelby Grimm. And then there is a hard collision at the plate. Shelby Grimm's catching hand, watch her catching hand. Should have been a flip here from Cassidy Grimm, but goes into throwing position. The throw leads her right into the base runner. which causes the contact there at the plate. No need to stand up and throw this ball, way too close, and her helmet comes off. Just an unfortunate play at the plate.
So Grimm comes off after the contact to her helmet there with Ritter crossing the plate in a bang-bang play. They're always going to err on the side of caution when it comes to contact to the head. So Grimm will be evaluated by the athletic training staff for Notre Dame as Virginia Tech expands its lead to 5-1.
Well, and this play is very close to Kelsey Brown being out of the box as her left foot comes across closer to the plate. But no call there. She does put the ball in play. A run does score.
Carly Kloss takes over the reins behind the plate for the Irish. So Ritter is back to third, and there is no Kelsey Brown over at first, so it would appear, at least, although we don't have a definitive signal, that Brown was the second out of the inning, and now that ground out from Fagan is the third out of the inning. So a look back at Brown laying down that bunt, and keep an eye on the umpire behind second base,
who makes the immediate call. She was indeed out of the box. That is a dead ball. Brown is out. The run comes off the board, and Ritter goes back to third base. The score remains Virginia Tech 4, Notre Dame 1. Start for the first game in the ACC championship. Keely Rochard, 3 strikeouts so far on the day, has just given up 1 hit against the #1 hitting team in the ACC. An impressive performance so far from the ace for Virginia Tech in Keely Rochard.
Nation's leader in strikeouts, left the bases full in the fourth, and a 1-hit effort. I'll tell you what, over the course of a couple days so far, we still have 2 more games to go today. We're going to see some very good pitching as well. We have been treated to some beautiful pitching performances. Saw a no-hitter yesterday from Blake Nelman of Georgia Tech. Valerie Cagle, 14 strikeouts and 1 hit in Clemson's 2-0 defeat of Georgia Tech in game 1 today. And now the treat to watch Rochard as she has a 3-run advantage over Peyton Tidd and Notre Dame as they've had to regroup here a little bit. You saw their starter, Alexis Holloway, stumble out of the blocks. She went 1 1/3 before Tidd came in to relieve her in the circle. And there, unfortunately, saw Shelby Grimm, their catcher, with a collision at the plate, taken out of the game as well to receive medical treatment. Notre Dame on this 14-game winning streak. Haven't lost in more than 5 weeks, going back to their last defeat April 4th against Florida State. Rochard goes up out of the zone. Tidd follows. She strikes out to start the 5th.
Number 19, Cassidy Greb.
Keely Rochard continues to impress, working all parts of the zone, really stretches the zone vertically. And you see Peyton Tidd swing, you think, oh, it's way out of the zone. Well, it certainly doesn't look like it is until it jumps late.
That bunt try popped over toward first. Bailey charging in. Got it for a quick second out.
The center fielder, number 26, Abby Sweet.
And I just continue to think about not only the ACC championship, as the teams try to progress through and get to Saturday and earn the crown. But I think about the next weekend in NCAA regionals and what a dangerous team Virginia Tech can be when you have a pitcher like Keely Rochard in the circle. You have a limited number of games you may need to play on a weekend if you could stay in that winner's bracket. The offense Virginia Tech has, they're going to be a tough team. You wouldn't want to match up against them early in a regional.
Sweet has scored the lone run for Notre Dame, trying to help them avoid a third clean 1-2-3 inning by Rochard. Is that the single best advantage you can have in a regional where you've got to win 3 games, is having a dominant starting pitcher?
You know, being able to host is certainly number one, and being able to stay in the winner's bracket is number 2. Playing on your home field and staying in the winner's bracket, and there's no doubt that having a pitcher who can generate a consistent performance day in and day out, they always give you an opportunity.
And Sweet does that for her team as well. She's aboard here with a 2-out single, the ACC's top hitter all year long, and for 8 straight weeks, the best average in the league, as just their 2nd hit of the day.
Abby Sweet just finds a way. You know, that wasn't the hardest hit ball she's had all year. Leads the league in doubles, usually drives the ball hard. But when you swing, good things happen. And Abby Sweet, she's that spark plug Notre Dame needs.
Clark lays it in the dirt. A sprinting Fagan throws over to first base. That ball trickles into the outfield. Sweet, head down, goes first to third. That duo up top, Sweet and Clark, dangerous when they get in motion, and it's first and third for Notre Dame, a 2-out rally in the works.
This is what speed can do for you. Everyone knows Clark's going to go to the short game, but Fagan picks this ball up, tries to throw it on the run, has this feeling, I need to get rid of this ball quickly, rushes her throw. Notre Dame has 2 runners on.
Deanna Gump would put Katie Marino among the best second basemen in the country. She's driven in Notre Dame's lone run, has 2 on and 2 out as she faces Rochard for the 3rd time today. Back-to-back singles from Sweet and Clark, and an error charge to Fagan as well on that throw from third. There goes Sweet, or rather Clark, beg your pardon, on the backside with her 24th stolen base in 30 tries. Very enticing pitch on 1-1. Marino in the hole, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And Marino is a veteran player. Started every year she's been in a Notre Dame uniform. She's been in these situations many times before.
Thought about it, lets it go, 2-2. As a base hit here with 2 out, runners will be off on contact. Can make it a 1-run game. First game of the postseason for these two, for the right to play Clemson tomorrow. Rochard wants her 5th strikeout. She comes in way too close, gets a stare down from Marino, after she's hit by the pitch, and the bases are loaded.
This pitch gets away from Rochard. As you mentioned, up and in. This one's just going to take it off the helmet. Tries to get out of the way. Can't get out of the way in time. Marino takes her base with a little intensity.
The look certainly said it all there for the New Jersey native grad student in her final season at Notre Dame. Off the cage, keeping her safe on her helmet. Sweet is at third, Clark is at second. Marino goes to first, so the upperclassmen now relying on the freshman Gaskins, who's had mixed results in 2 plate appearances, 1 strikeout, 1 walk.
And this is the second inning in a row where Notre Dame has had bases loaded. They did score 1 run in the 4th inning, but now here in the 5th, they left 3 on base to end the 4th. Find themselves again with 2 outs and another opportunity with the bases loaded.
Opportunities against Rochard like this don't come around all too often. That was a good looking pitch for Gaskins. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And a big swing from Gaskins. She leads the team in RBI. A lot of power in her swing, but Rochard just heats this up, a little more velocity, and throws it right by her.
This time contact, back to the netting. Rochard got the first 2 outs quickly in this inning. She struck out Tidd, got Grimm to pop to first, Sweet and Clark with singles. Marino, a pitch up and in off the cage. And the 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Check swing, a look to first. She's clear, says Robbie Guest.
And now the runners will be in motion on the pitch. Gaskins just holds back. The barrel does not cross the front of the plate.
Rochard's biggest pitch of the day. Swing and a miss, strike 3. She fans Gaskins, and for the 2nd straight inning, escapes a bases-loaded jam.
Rochard steps up when her team needs her the most. Calm, cool, and collected as we head to the 6th.
So far in the ACC Softball Championship, freshmen in the circle have been brilliant. Blake Nelman, a no-hitter in Game 1 for Georgia Tech against Syracuse. Valerie Cagle goes the distance, a 1-hitter as Clemson took care of Georgia Tech. And Clemson, in its first full season, gets a postseason W. And Florida State, the winner of every ACC Softball Championship played since 2014, the number 2 seed this year. And they will be coming up in our next game. A scheduled first pitch time of 5 o'clock Eastern time here on the ACC network against NC State, a squad that hit more home runs than any team in the league this year. And Louisville will see Duke, 7:30 Eastern. What should people look out for with Florida State and NC State, Carol?
Just two completely different offensive teams. Florida State this year, very efficient with their base running. They're scrappy, they're aggressive, they'll squeeze on back-to-back plays if they can. And with North Carolina State, it is the home run mindset. Lead the league in home runs.
'69 long balls on the year for the Wolfpack, as they played their way into that game against Florida State with a win against North Carolina. Tidd starts off with a strikeout of Milius in the last of the fifth.
Goes to her drop ball, just tumbles right through the strike zone and freezes Milius. Good start to the fifth inning for Peyton Tidd.
And another pitcher, too, that we shouldn't let her name go unmentioned either, the freshman Estelle Check, who stepped into the circle for NC State to help deliver them to that victory against UNC. Bennett out to Sweet in center, 2 away.
And this game, you know, you said it earlier, it just has that feeling. It's got this intensity to it. You kind of hang on to every pitch. And not only is that because we're in the quarterfinals of the ACC championship and then getting deeper into postseason play, but these teams have played each other 4 times already. It's tough to play a team 5 times in a season. Even tougher to beat them 5 times in a season. That's what Notre Dame's trying to do today. But there's no secrets anymore, and the intensity level just bumps up a notch once you get to postseason.
Tidd is vying for the first 1-2-3 inning of the day with Notre Dame in the field. Deanna Gumpf. She and Muffet McGraw at Notre Dame are the only 2 coaches in the history of the school to have won at least 750 games. Gumpf hit that earlier this year in late February with a win over Duke. And they've gone to a regional every year, all previous 19 with her at the helm. Big East champions 4 times, now in her 20th season.
Just one of the best in the game, so dedicated to her craft. And just, you know, it's one thing to climb the mountain. It's one thing to start a program and have some success in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. You're climbing that mountain. But when you've been there and you've won some championships, you've been to the NCAA regionals. I mean, that's 2 decades that Coach Gumpf and her staff, Lizzie Restano, Chris Ganeff, have been able to maintain a very high level of play for this program.
And just consistency with those assistant coaches you mentioned, each of them having been there for at least 16 years. That explains why they've been so good for so long.
Do so many things off the field as well as on the field. You're getting a look at head coach Deanna Gumpf, whose daughter Tatum was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in the summer of 2010. And Tatum is now in remission, just turned 15 this past week, but she has made it her mission to raise money during the annual Strikeout Cancer weekends. They have year after year after year raised more than $20,000 this season, May 1st against Charlotte. And over the course of the last decade has raised over $500,000 for the cause. A cause near and dear to Coach Gumpf's heart, and turning something really challenging for her family into something really good as she tries to fight cancer, beat cancer. I was at that first event in 2011, was coaching at Louisville. We were playing against Notre Dame at the time. Tatum and her friends, who were all battling cancer, walked around the field holding balloons. There was not a dry eye in the place, and to see what Coach Gumpf has done to fight cancer and to see her daughter Tatum, now a thriving teenager, is just quite an accomplishment for Coach Gumpf.
When you become a coach, you think about all of the lives you can impact, and for the most part, you're thinking about the players who are going to come through your program. But through what Tatum has faced and what she's been able to turn that into and raise more than $500,000 to help so many more people is just remarkable. Here's Leah Hanks, who had been 0 for 2, and she gets aboard to start the Notre Dame 6 as they find themselves with 6 outs to work with and a 3-run deficit going up against one of the best pitchers in the country. They've certainly had their chances. 6 left on base in the last 2 innings, left the bases loaded in those last 2 frames. Just 1 run across in the 4th. And now Sarah Gens, a native Minnesotan, with Hanks at first and a threat to go. 11 for 11 in stolen bases this year.
And when you get to postseason, you know, you need some solid pitching in the circle, clean defense, and you need that timely hitting. And Notre Dame, the last 2 innings, leaving the bases loaded in both those innings, not coming up with that timely hit.
Gens, the Arabic major, perhaps the most well-traveled of her teammates. Spent one of her summers in college studying abroad in the country of Jordan, and hopes once her college days are over to go work for an international nonprofit. Bouncer to short, could be 2. Bennett up to green, and that's it. So Hanks is retired at second. Gens reaches on the fielder's choice.
Rochard tucks this one on the inside corner, and Gens is just a little slow getting her barrel down there. Doesn't quite get it. Doesn't barrel it up. Not enough pace on that ball.
Chelsea Purcell hitless in 2 attempts today. What Coach Gumpf has called the anchor for their team, and given them a lot of innings both at third and at short. Disappointed with her swing at that 1-0 pitch as it ends up in Ritter's glove, and an inning that began with a leadoff single now has 2 outs and still just a runner at first.
And that Rochard just keeping Notre Dame off balance. A lot of strikeouts. Also a lot of fly ball outs because of her velocity, her spin on the ball. It makes it very difficult to square one up. You know, the bat's about 4 inches, and Keely Rochard with her spin, you end up hitting the ball in about like the last half inch of the barrel all the time because the ball's still spinning so much through the zone.
For Virginia Tech and Rochard, there's probably some measure of revenge on the mind here as they were swept by Notre Dame. And that is the only series that Virginia Tech lost out of its 9 this year in the league. 1-1 pitcher to pitcher. Very late offering there from Tidd, 1-2.
Well, that's what Keely Rochard can do to you. Throws in the mid-60s, upper 60s. And then, oh, by the way, takes about 15 miles an hour off. Oh, and by the way, it also is going to drop on you. So it's, you know, very difficult. What makes her so hard to hit. Different movement in planes. And when you have command of 3 different pitches like that, you know, when you can command your rise ball up in the zone, who's command with her drop ball down in the zone, and then can throw her off-speed pitch for a strike. You know, as a hitter, you're on your heels a little bit. You're guessing it. You know, she gets in your head a little bit. And that's exactly where Keely Rochard wants the hitters that face her in the batter's box.
1-2 after a foul by Tidd. Rochard up to the challenge again. Strikes out Tidd. now has 6 strikeouts on the afternoon and putting her team in perfect position to try and advance to take on Clemson tomorrow. Our host site, Ulmer Stadium, for the ACC Softball Championship this year. Our championship game comes your way Saturday at noon on ESPN. Clemson the first to move on to the semifinal round. Notre Dame, Virginia Tech playing for the right to see the Tigers. And NC State, Florida State, our next game here on the ACC network. Louisville and Duke, the nightcap. And the winners of those 2 collective games will move on to the semis as well. Lonnie Alameda's squad waits patiently. They have been in this situation and succeeded many times before, having won more ACC championships than the rest of the league combined. Mike Cousins, Carol Bruggeman, glad to have you with us. Bottom 6. Peyton Tidd had a 1-2-3, 9-pitch inning to work through the Virginia Tech offense in the 5th. And Mackenzie Lauder, catcher, number 6 hitter, starts it off for the Hokies. Tech this year picked 2nd in the ACC preseason poll. Just 5 points behind Florida State. And their preseason ranking in the NFCA top 25, 15 was their best to start the year since 2008. Check swing. Didn't go. It's 3-1 from Tidd.
Tidd pitching with a lot of confidence. She's been very solid since she entered the game. Holloway with a rough start. Virginia Tech came out, scored early in this game, and they have not looked back. It's been a game of missed opportunities offensively for Notre Dame.
Grounded to short, Purcell with a bobble. Her throw to first is late. 6 in a row had been set down by Tidd, so that streak comes to an end on that hard hit ball to short.
Takes a little bit of a hop right at the end on Purcell. And that's the 5th. We've played, this is the bottom of the 6th now, and that's the 5th inning Virginia Tech has had the leadoff batter on base.
Maddie Federico, the freshman, the pinch runner at first for Lauder, the catcher. And the decision that Coach Gump for Notre Dame had to make back in the 2nd inning, just 3 batters into that inning, 1 full trip through the lineup to take Alexis Holloway out of the game. Assuredly not an easy one there, because she's been so solid this year. She stands behind her head coach in the dugout. But I think that's recognition by an experienced coach that the game could turn very quickly. You've got a very reliable 2nd option with Tidd, so probably not an easy choice, but a necessary one.
Well, Gens anticipating the short game, reads it well, stays balanced. Big out for Notre Dame.
One out, one on for Emma Ritter, an RBI triple back in the 4th. Her big contribution offensively today. 1-1. Down and in. Throw to second on the stolen base attempt. Federico swipes second.
Carly Kloss, who entered the game. Shelby Grimm was taken out of the game after the collision at the plate, but the same result for Virginia Tech, which is a stolen base. They've been able to steal at will today, getting runners into scoring position.
Ritter's older brother Hunter was a college wrestler. Split his time between Wisconsin and Minnesota as the Maryland natives dispersed across the country for their collegiate sporting careers. And she's got a good count here, 3-1. And if her childhood was anything like mine, it was probably spent a lot of time in the car going around from youth sporting event to youth sporting event for your older siblings. My oldest sister, a basketball player, I think I spent probably half of my youth in the back of a Dodge Caravan going up and down I-95 along the East Coast from gym to gym. 3-2 on the way. Ritter sends Sweet retreating. And there are 2 away. Well, Notre Dame starting to feel that clock ticking. They're down 4-1. And Tidd is an out away from bringing her offense back to the plate in the top of the 7th. They'll have 9-1-2, which means that their best bats will come to the plate once again. But unlike some of the other teams that we saw earlier on here in this championship, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, teams that postseason pictures do not look quite as rosy as Notre Dame. So a loss here does likely not mean the end of their season. As one of those 5 teams at the top of this league, the Hokies included, the Tigers, the Blue Devils, the Seminoles, who appear to have resumes good enough to be into the NCAA tournament field as well.
Can't agree with you more. The body of work both of these teams have put in, and we're specifically talking about Notre Dame at the moment, especially the last 6 weeks of the season, 5-6 weeks of the season, where they have been on a roll, highlighted by winning all four games in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech.
And at worst, what they'd have going for them going into a regional, if they lose here today, they'd have won 14 of their last 15 games.
And it's an odd year with the strength of schedules and the RPIs.
Troll to Marino on Degens. And the inning is over. That was the 3rd out at first. Notre Dame staring down a 3-run deficit. Work to do in the 7th. We're going to take out air quotes here and say Keely Rochard has, quote, only struck out 6 batters today, because nobody struck out more batters during the course of the regular season across all of college softball at the Division I level. And Rochard has found herself in some precarious spots today. Bases loaded over the course of 2 of the last 3 innings, but she stranded those runners. Those 3 walks have not come back to hurt. And through 6, Carol, she has put the Hokies in position to win and advance here at the ACC Championship.
This is exactly the position Virginia Tech wanted to be in. After losing at home to Notre Dame all 4 games, put themselves in a position to advance here in the ACC Championship.
Notre Dame goes the pinch hitter route here. The junior Quinn Biggio swinging early in the number 9 spot. She flies out to Brown.
Well, you're a pinch hitter. You've been watching the whole game. Comes right off the bench cold and drives this ball deep into left field. Doesn't get the result she wants, but That's not easy to do coming off the bench against a pitcher like Keely Rochard.
Bottom of the lineup today for Notre Dame. Hitters 5 through 9. A combined 0 for 11 against Rochard. And on All ACC, between our games, Jordan Cornett asked the question, could this game come down to Keely Rochard versus Abby Sweet? And what do you know here with Notre Dame needing to get the offense going? It is Sweet down in an 0-2 hole against Rochard.
Well, Abby Sweet, we talk about her batting average leading the league almost the entire season. She's also second in the league in terms of toughest to strike out. So she battles, finds ways. If Notre Dame's going to have a shot here in the top of the 7th, it goes through Abby Sweet.
Rochard's 100th pitch of the day is sent a long way out into foul territory. The only run allowed, an RBI double from Katie Marino, who waits with bat in hand, 2 batters away, as she brought Sweet home in the Irish 4th. More softball still to come later on today. Games 3 and 4 of this quarterfinal action. Florida State and NC State, Duke and Louisville for your nightcap action. After a ball in the dirt, Rochard 1-2 to Sweet. And one of the toughest to strike out in the ACC is the 7th to succumb to Rochard today. Now 2 down. Florida State waiting and watching. They'll see NC State. Florida State a couple of years ago, one of the best home run hitting teams in the country. And that's NC State this year. That game about 40 minutes after the conclusion of this one, scheduled for a 5 o'clock first pitch. It's down to Emma Clark for the Irish. 4-1 Virginia Tech in the 7th. Tapper is foul 0-2. It was an early hole dug for Notre Dame as Virginia Tech scored 3 runs in the first 2 innings. They knocked the starter Alexis Holloway out of the circle after just 1 1/3. And Rochard looking to go the distance here and end Notre Dame's 14-game winning streak. Her 2-strike offering. Flare to center. Long run. Basket catch for Trull. And the game is over on that catch in center field. Complete game victory for Keely Rochard. Not her most dominant here this day in Louisville, but even her at 80% is better than most around the country. And Virginia Tech defeats Notre Dame for the first time in 5 tries this year. 4-1 the final score.
Just an impressive performance for Virginia Tech, and it started in the first inning. The first batter of the game, Kelsey Brown, gets on base. Cameron Fagan with the triple, scoring Brown. And then it was Alexa Milius right behind her. First three batters, 3 hits for Virginia Tech. And Mike, it continued in the second inning.
Well, just more trouble after Addie Green had a leadoff walk. Darby Trull stepped to the plate 2 batters later, sent that ball scamper into the warning track with an RBI double. So already 3-0 in favor of Virginia Tech. And then after Green was the leadoff batter on once again in the 4th, Emma Ritter with an RBI triple. The Hokies were excellent on the base pass today as well. 4-0 Tech at that point. And the only run across for the Irish came in the 4th on a Katie Marino RBI double. And that sets up another great pitching matchup tomorrow for Clemson and Virginia Tech. The numbers 1 and 4 seeds. And 2 more games to come your way today with Pam Ward and Jenny Dalton-Hill, NC State, Florida State, Louisville, and Duke. You don't even have to change the channel. This is a great day of softball all around. And we look forward to having you along for the ride. Thanks for being part of these early games. On behalf of our entire crew, led by Todd Koulis, my partner Carol Bruggeman, I'm Mike Cousins, saying so long for now. It's ESPN Films presents The Class That Saved Coach K. We say so long from Louisville.